We're right at the finish line for our short sequence now. We're going to get our graded clips back into your NLE program using an XML. This approach gives our client and the online editor much greater control at the end of the post-production process, so it's the preferred way to deliver our projects. The first thing we're going to do is render all of our graded clips out, but this time we're going to check the individual clips checkbox. Now, Resolve only renders out the edits present on the timeline using their respective in and out points. This is a lot like media managing a project in Final Cut or using the project manager in Premiere Pro. So the first thing we do is set our delivery settings before going ahead and rendering out the project. QuickTime, DNxHR, HQX 10-bit is okay for this one. Then we're going to make sure we have a folder. Now, before we jump ahead and render this out, we're going to have to take care of the file naming conventions here. This file was delivered to us in a baked master format, and so if we leave it as, if we don't tell Resolve to use unique file names, it's going to continually overwrite every clip it's rendered with the next one, and in the end we're only going to end up with a single clip, which is obviously no use to us. To avoid that, we check the Use Unique File Names checkbox here. This gives a completely unique file name to every single clip that's rendered out of Resolve and makes sure that it doesn't accidentally overwrite anything that it's produced. After that, we can then say poem. This is actually the third pass, so 03. Don't need the source frame count, that's fine. And then we can add this to our render queue, and we can hit Start Render. Now we've got our graded clips but no XML to use in our reconform back in our NLE. We need to export an XML. Now, first save your project. Resolve can crash when you do this, although it's not as common as it used to be. We need to go back to the Edit panel, and then choose File, Export AAF XML, and what we're going to do is choose to export an XML file. Now, if you're using Premiere Pro, FCP7 XML v5 is what you want. If you're using Final Cut Pro X, then FCP XML is what you want. We'll give it a name. And then we hit Save. This is now exported an XML file, which we can use to reconform in Premiere Pro. So we're going to go to Premiere Pro, and just hold Control and hit I to hit import. And we're going to choose the XML. We'll just drag the footage into the right bin, and the timeline into the timelines bin. And now when we open up our timeline, we have a timeline in Premiere Pro containing all of the graded edits we had in our timeline in Resolve. Now, if you're delivering this to a client or you've moved workstations, you're going to have to relink the clips, obviously. Some clients get left-footed by that because they don't really know how to use their software. So just make sure that you're on hand and you explain how you relink missing clips in Premiere Pro or in Final Cut or whatever. So we've now got our separate graded clips back in our NLE, and we can proceed with our online edit and final delivery. We've got some tech to go through before the first real-world project, so when you're ready, click on through to the next lecture.